So secret number 3, I'm going to show you exactly how you can start talking to guys without any fear of rejection. This is really, really fun because we've got scripts, we've got examples, we got case studies. This one's going to be awesome. I am so pumped for this one. So let's get started. Secret number 3. I think this will probably be a lot of your favorites. So let's go. So here's the mindset. Getting him to approach you. Honestly, a lot of guys would like to approach you, but they just need a little bit more encouragement. I should probably preface this by saying, there isn't really a magic bullet for getting every single guy to approach you. And the reason why there isn't is because you would honestly be an indecisive mess. Can you imagine? You would have so many guys to choose from if you had some sort of magic bullet that all these guys, wanted you. It kind of sounds like The Bachelorette or something like that. Okay, sorry. Bachelorette's on my mind because it's such a fun show. But honestly, I can't promise that every guy's going to come flocking to you. But what I can promise is that the likelihood of that cute guy in the corner of, the corner of the room at a party or something like that he'll be more likely to come over and introduce himself. And I'm going to teach you a few techniques and tricks and strategies and things that you can say as well. So here's the big thing. A lot of times it's that fear of rejection that's really, really scary for these guys. They just need a little bit of encouragement to come. So here's a couple of ways that we can discourage that fear of rejection that they have and encourage them to be able to come and make a move. So here's the first thing, is proximity. So if you see someone you think is attractive from across the room, you can move to the other side of the room to be closer. So if you think about a room and you think about all the people that are there, it's a lot easier to be closer to someone to get him to come talk to you if you are in a position where instead of him getting up the courage and walking all the way across the room to strike up a conversation with you, you can actually just be closer to him, which is going to make it a lot easier for you guys to start chatting. So proximity, moving all the way across the room and being close to them. Don't be like this, creepy stalker person, but just move over to his side of the room on that other side. Also looking in his direction. So if you're standing with a group of people, position your body so you're facing in his direction. So a lot of times instead of looking over your shoulder, just maybe shift yourself a little bit so that you can look directly in his direction. Sneak a couple quick glances, see if he notices you. Once you make eye contact, so this is super, super important. A lot of times instead of when we make eye contact, it tends to get really, really uncomfortable really, really fast. And so we have this urge to look away. And I promise you it's going to be uncomfortable, but resist the urge to look away instantly, okay? It's going to be uncomfortable for a second, but let another second pass, give him a quick smile, and then you have permission to look away, okay? Eye contact, super, super important. So if you look away instantly, it's going to show that not only do you have a lack of confidence, but it also shows that, oh, I'm not really interested. We just made eye contact. It was just kind of this happenstance, and everybody makes eye contact, in the room with somebody that they're not interested in, right? But what shows interest and it's going to encourage him to come over is just give it a half second more. So you're looking at somebody, you make eye contact, resist the urge to look away. Okay, please do that. And I promise you, it's really, really going to help as well. This is probably one of the most simple ways to communicate a sense of interest and symbolically wave him in. So now, another thing that's really important, once you make eye contact the first time, you have about 20 seconds to make eye contact with him one more time. So looking over, a couple glances, maybe, after 7, maybe 10 seconds, and see if you can make eye contact with him again. So anyone can make eye contact with someone once, but if you look over a second or a third time, you're definitely communicating your interest. And there's no fear of rejection here. Like, you're honestly just looking at the guy. That's all. And this actually does a lot to encourage him and almost give him permission to come and talk to you. So you're not playing football here, and this probably looks a little bit weird, but I'm sure a lot of times that girls, what they tend to do is they love to huddle. They love to huddle together. You love huddling with all your girlfriends together. And we're trying to attract guys. We're not trying to plan a football play here. And so being in a huddle is probably one of the most intimidating things that you can do. If you saw like even another group, you're like, okay, that's another group. Like, I'm not even going to go there. So it tends to make you feel better, right? Being in a group with all your girlfriends. But you become a lot more approachable if you just separate yourself slightly from the group. So if you look at like number 10 here, if he took maybe one step back and was kind of positioning his body in another way, if you are this girl taking a step back away from your group, you're still with your group. It's okay. You always have your crew to fall back on so you can go out and socialize. But if the guy you like sees that you're chatting with, with your group, but you're also away from the group just slightly, it's going to show that you're more open to meeting other people as you're kind of looking around and almost disengaged, if you will, from the group. So take a step back, and I think that's really going to help as well. Okay, concept, get in the introduction. So this is really where we're going to go into some of the tactical strategies and things that you can do. This is the most foolproof method for meeting new guys without any fear of rejection. And I want to tell you a quick story about how this worked for my friend Tiffany. Like, this is really, guys, this is where the magic happens. This is the holy grail of attracting guys. So here's how this worked for my friend. So she came from a family of 6 brothers. She was really shy, reserved by nature, and she had a really difficult time approaching attractive guys. Frankly, they just made her really, really nervous. So one day, Tiffany found herself, she was in a seminar listening to a guy, really compelling voice, sharply dressed young man. The guy was in a tailored blue suit. His face was cleanly shaven, hair was perfectly styled, smile was worth $1 million. Like, she's really attracted to this guy. And at this point, he didn't even know that she existed. And so she went to the same seminar every week while he was teaching, and she wished that he would just notice her or something. And she thought about this for months. And so many weeks later, she saw him with some of his friends, and she walked over and started talking to just his friends without acknowledging him at all. And since she was talking to his friends, he was no longer cold to her. You see that? You talk about those weak ties again, that you guys have to realize that the secret to this was that it's always better to get the referral from a trusted source. And this was his friend. He actually got her number. They ended up dating for about 6 amazing months before she relocated to another city. So I wish I had the end of the story. But she actually relocated somewhere else. But she was able to get introduced to him by being friends with his friends. And so this was something that was huge. And so I want to talk about getting this recommendation from this friend. I'm not sure if you guys know, but 89% of people trust a recommendation of a friend instead of a cold call. So a cold call is just, you are literally walking up to somebody and you're like, hey, you don't know me, I don't know you, but let's chat. And that's like, just the idea of a cold call, like, is really, I don't know about you guys, I don't like it at all. I would much rather, I'm a lot more comfortable being introduced to somebody that way. And I've seen girls do this before, where I'm in a group with my buddies and one of the girls walks up and introduces herself to one of the other guys who's there, or maybe they had a weak tie, and then she goes around the circle and she shakes everybody's hand, and then she really kind of hones in on the person she's actually interested in. And so this is from a guy, his name is Darren Hardy, he's the founder of Success Magazine. He says, cold calls are for rookies, and you don't want to be a rookie. So we're not trying to be rookies here, we're trying to be the real deal. So the idea is that if you can get introduced by a friend, you'll have a much better chance of getting a conversation started with that certain someone. So what if you don't know the friend? What if you're in a big group? Say you're at a dance or something, and you see this really attractive guy in the corner, and he's with a couple buddies, and you don't know anybody else who's there. You know what? This whole cold call thing, or this whole getting the recommendation from a friend, from the referral, it really doesn't matter if you know the other people or not. Because frankly, it's not a cold call if that's not the person you're interested in, right? So with Tiffany, the very fact that she was able to spend some time with his friends showed that she was worth his attention. And I do this all the time, and so can you. So if you see someone you're interested, if I see someone that I'm interested in, I'll go up and start a conversation with one of the other friends first, and then I'll transition to talking to the girl I actually like. And this goes the same for girls too. So how do you start the conversation though? So you see somebody and you're like walking up, you're getting the courage, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You just go and you just start walking. By the way, guys, like the hardest thing is just taking that first step of walking. So how do you start the conversation? Say you get there. What do you say? What is the first thing that comes out of your mouth? So let me give you a parallel. So when you go to the store, how do you start the conversation with a store associate? Say you're trying to find something. If you're looking for something, you would probably say something like, hey, excuse me. So you said, hey, excuse me, can you help me for a sec? I'm looking for the milk. Nothing's really different here. The store associate is a stranger. Is it really, really scary talking to this person? You know, guys, if you're being scared by talking to a store associate and someone who's just one of the team workers there, probably just stick to online ordering. But the random guy who's standing next to his attractive friend is a total stranger as well. So treat him the same way. So here is how you do it. So first, you ask for help from the friend. You state your request, and then 3, you transition. So in this sense, let's give a couple scenarios, and so let's do a case study here. So if you're, or let's just do an example first. So you're in a social gathering. So you say, hey, you walk up to the friend. Hey, excuse me, can you help me for a sec? And every guy wants to help. If he doesn't want to help, you don't even want to be talking to them anyway. So you say, hey, would you watch my stuff while I use the restroom? Pretty simple request, right? And your friend, you know, he's still kind of unsure, like he doesn't even know you, but he's like, you know, sure, all right, I'll do it. So after you get back, you say, hey, thank you so much. You have no idea how much that means to me. And you're kind of teasing a little bit, it's a little sarcastic. You say, what's your name, by the way? And the friend says, you know, I'm Jim. By the way, this is the friend, this isn't the person you're actually interested in. You say, hey, I'm Lexi, or whatever your name is. And then you turn to the guy you like and you say, hey, and what was your name? So, and he says, I'm John. You say, nice to meet you. And then if you're at a social gathering, you say, you know, then you transition, right? This is step 3. You're like, how do you know the host, or something else? And you could say, you know, did you come here with anybody else? Things like that. So let's go back. So asking for help, stating a request, and then transitioning, okay? So here, asking for help, can you help me for a sec, watch my stuff? Friend says, yeah, sure, sounds great. You come back, you're like, hey, thank you so much, and you transition. What was your name, by the way? You start introducing yourself, and everything gets set up. So you're watching a team sport together. You know, you're there, say you're supporting somebody, and you look over and there's a really attractive guy, and he's got a friend there. So you say, hey, excuse me, can you help me for a sec? I met that guy over there, say, you know, someone playing or somebody else. I met that guy over there once, but I forgot his name. Like, do you know what it is by chance? I feel really bad. And the friend says, yeah, I think it's Jeff, you know, if I remember right. And so you say, oh, that's right. Awesome. My name's Lexi, by the way. and the friend says, "Nice to meet you, I'm Ryan," or whatever his name is, and you say, and then you say, "I'm Lexi," and you turn to the guy, and you say, "Hey, and what was your name?" You're like, "I'm John. Nice to meet you." And so then this is super important. You have to start the conversation off to John, and you can obviously include the other guy, but you want to really be focused in on John. This is the person that you actually like, that you're actually interested in. Let's do another one. So you're at a party, and so you would say, hey, you walk over to a group of guys and just pick one of the guys. It really doesn't matter who he is. "Hey, excuse me, can you help me for a sec? See that girl over there?" And then you say, "Yeah, the blonde one, the red dress," or whoever it is. You say, "Yeah, her." And say she's one of your friends. Say the blonde girl in the red dress is one of your really, really good friends. So "Yeah, her. You see, she's kind of new around here. Would you guys mind coming over so she can meet some more people?" And then as you're walking over, you're like, "Hey, what were your names, by the way?" Like, this is huge because now you've just like included your friend in this as well, and you guys are all together. You've essentially just killed two birds with one stone, and you just invited his friend group to come and mingle with your friend group without making it really awkward. And plus, you get a chance to talk to the guy you actually like without making it really weird or awkward. Now, something, guys, that I really, really want to stress here is that we meet so many different people in a single week. You think about the average person, they're constantly just like meeting new people all the time, and getting introduced, and guys, girls, everybody. And a lot of times we do the, "Hey, good to meet you, it's a pleasure." We just, what do we watch? We just watched one of the James Bond movies, came out a couple years ago, called Spectre. If you haven't seen it, super good movie. But one of the guys, he meets somebody for the first time, and he's like, "Sir, it's great to meet you." And then he's like, "Yes, enchanted." Enchanted to meet you. It's just so like British. But it was so fleeting, and we don't really convey that we actually care about that new person at all. And so when you're going out and you're meeting these guys, like, hold their gaze for just another second when you actually hear their name. "What was your name, by the way?" "My name's John." "John, it's really good to meet you." And you kind of just pause for a second. Look him in the face, like you really appreciate the opportunity to meet him. And smile and hold his gaze for just a half second long. Guys, that's it. Just a half second longer than you usually would. And I promise he's not going to forget you after that. So you're probably thinking, "Adam, that's great. If I can go and I can meet somebody else. But what if this guy is just by himself? Like, what if I don't see anybody else who he's with?" And let's just make it even worse. Let's just say he's actually about to leave. So you don't want to miss your chance, especially if he's like an 8 out of a 10 or a 9 out of 10. You really don't want to lose this guy. So, but he's not, like, he's by himself. You don't see any of his other friends with him, which means that you can't introduce yourself to his friend and get the referral, which is by far the best method. And so this is kind of your moment of panic. He's about to leave. You might not ever see him again. What do you do in this situation? And by the way, this is only if you absolutely have to meet him. It might be really, really awkward to just kind of blurt out. It's like, "Hey, are you having a good night?" And he's like, "Yeah, I am," and walks out. Like, that would be really kind of just awkward. So instead of doing that, like, if you have to meet him, you can't get the referral, then here is something that I would say. "Hey, you're leaving already? Like, how come?" This is very, like, it's not intrusive at all. Like, if he's about to go, you're like, "Hey, like, are you leaving already? Like, how come? How come you're going?" And the best part about this line is that the next script that I'm going to give you, the next line I'm going to give you, no matter what he says, I'm going to have the perfect line for you queued up, ready to go. So I'm going to warn you, this is not for the faint of heart. Like, this is going to take a lot of courage, a lot of confidence, and some of you may not be at this point quite yet, but I promise you're going to get there. And these are literally 6 words that are going to completely change the way that you meet guys, especially if you're at this last moment chance when you're like, "Hey, are you leaving already? How come?" No matter what he says, it really doesn't matter. If he says, "I have to meet my friend somewhere, I'm late for another party," it really doesn't matter. You say the exact same thing. You can override exactly what he says, and here's what you say. Well, you haven't met me yet. No matter what he says, you just completely override it. This is going to stop him. You're going to laugh after you do this. This is going to stop him right in his tracks. He's really going to appreciate how bold you are, because it's not very often that somebody does this. You can imagine that he's walking out and you say, hey, you're leaving already? Like, how come? He's like, oh, I got to go. I'm meeting my friends somewhere else. You're like, well, you haven't met me yet. Like, that is just so perfect. And he's going to love like that right there. That's how you meet an attractive guy. There's so many different ways to meet new people. I'll share one more example for you. I'll never forget. I was out country dancing with one of my buddies, and we got there. We started scoping out the area. It was super fun, and there were quite a few cute girls there. And you can imagine that the area is packed. And walking alongside the dance floor just to get past people, there's a country line dance song that comes on. People rush the dance floor, and everybody's excited to participate. And my buddy Nick is right there behind me. He's like, Adam, you're like one of the best country dancers out here. And I laughed. I found my spot on the dance floor. And about 10 seconds later, the girl to my right looks in my direction, says to me and my buddy, hey, I heard you're like some of the best country dancers out here. And so I want you to pay really, really close attention to what she's about to do here. This is also a step-by-step outline that you can use as an acronym. And this acronym is called ACT. And it stands for acknowledge, compliment, and touch. And it looks really simple, but there's some very cool and very key components that are going to make or break this for you. So some people who try this, they think they can just remember and they're good, but the trick is actually like in the story. So pay very, very close attention. So basically what happened, she first used her environment. She acknowledged me, and then it was wrapped in a compliment. Hey, you're like one of the best country dancers out here. She was aware of what was going on, and she reacted and took action. And that's probably the most important thing she could have done, is that too many people, they miss the opportunity because of secret one, right? That they're fearful. So for that fear of anxiety, embarrassment, or just plain unawareness. So take action. Starve your fear of its favorite food. Think about, have your anchor thought. It's going to be amazing after I talk to this guy and he gets my number, whatever it is. Take time out of the equation. Just go for it. So immediately she says this witty, logical, very appropriate comment, a very quick one-liner, which was very appropriate because it was loud music in there. You don't really want to start a deep conversation at a dance party. It's not good. So she gives a quick glance in our direction, says it with a flirty smile. It wasn't overbearing, and it wasn't like too quick that I forgot about it. It was perfect. She did such a good job. So after the song ended, you know what I did? Is I asked her to dance. And she deserved it because she had played all the right cards. And while she danced, she looked like she was having a blast. Like, there are few things that are more attractive than a girl who's having fun with a huge smile on her face. She may have had like a lot of problems and trials and things that was going on in her life, but she just completely left all those at the door when she walked in. It was so cool. And she was loving life. It really showed through her actions. It was great. Another thing. So her body language was absolutely precise. Actions were flawless, left me wanting more. And so the whole time during the rest of the dance, I was thinking about this girl. And so at the end of the night, this was great. At the end of the night, I was looking for her, and I found that she was dancing with some other guy. And even though she may have like done this subconsciously, she did all the right moves, quote unquote, during this dance. She had taken 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And after she had danced with me and acted really flirty and interested, she went off and danced with some other guy. So that was like 2 steps forward, dancing with me, interested in me, 2 steps forward, and then she danced with some other guy. So 1 step back. So this, and we'll talk about this concept a lot more, and we'll dive a lot more into detail about 2 forward, 1 step back. It's one of my favorite concepts of all time. But this really kept me on the hook and kept me wanting to talk to her and just communicate with her. And so I really can't stress this enough, how perfect this was. So acknowledge, compliment, and then a little touch. And so after the last song ended, I remember she comes running up, gives me a little nudge on my arm, which was so perfect. And so she acknowledged me, wrapped in the compliment, gave a little touch, and that's really all it took. So after the announcements were over, I said, "So did you have fun tonight?" She's like, "Yeah, I did. So are you gonna be walking me home tonight or what?" And she said it with this like really, really cute smirk, and I was like, I was just like, okay, that was enough. That was so good. So side note, honestly, you don't have to be that forward. She had played all the right cards and had said it with confidence, so it worked. And I replied, actually I've got a car, so I'll drive you home. How about that? She's like, perfect, I'll grab my stuff and I'll meet you outside. It was fun. So I got her number and asked her out for a couple nights later. So ECT totally works, you guys. Give it a shot, remember it, acknowledge, compliment, and a little touch. Like, don't be awkward. Usually just like on the arm. Anywhere else it kind of seems just kind of a little bit weird. So anyway, let's move on to FAQs. So what are some things that you have done to get introduced to a guy and did it work? So what are those things that you've done to get introduced to someone else? You can use these tricks, you can use these techniques and tactics and everything, but was there something that you've done in the past? Kind of take some self-reflection here and see if that worked. Now, another thing, do you feel like it's always the guy's responsibility to make the introduction? Why or why not? Sometimes I think a lot of girls, they kind of get in this mindset like, oh, he has to come talk to me first. If he doesn't come talk to me, then I'm not going to go talk to him, because it's the guy's job, it's his responsibility. So ask yourself why that is, and ask yourself like why. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a guy and that would be really nice to have more girls like approach us guys. I'm saying it because it's actually true that it really doesn't matter what side approaches who. Like, I think we're getting to that point here in the 21st century that like things have changed, things have shifted, and it's really important that we kind of take a step back and say, all right, it really doesn't matter like what side does it. So again, what was your aha moment from this section? And what are some things that you're going to do to make sure that you start off the introduction the right way? And then the last one is, how are you going to increase the number of guys you meet on a weekly basis? And just so you guys know, we'll have a transcript of this, and I'll have a couple lines so that you can fill out these, and so that you can really do some self-reflection for yourself on this.